To this press conference, Alan Brown, Mayor of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas. We have Tyler Richards here with us, our city manager. We have Tracy Lee, our interim public works director, with us today as well. This is a very important day, in my opinion, for the residents of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas. And what we're going to discuss this morning is the proposal that we are putting together to have a street and drainage bond election in November. It's given the residents an opportunity to decide on critical funding measures designed to rehabilitate our public infrastructure. For decades, our city's public works department has operated under severe funding limitations, resulting in growing maintenance needs. Currently, the city has a shortfall of approximately $6.5 million annually to maintain the road and drainage infrastructure to its current condition. It is important to note that the amount does not improve our overall infrastructure. It only maintains the infrastructure to its current condition. Without an influx of capital investment, this annual maintenance cost is projected to continue to increase, which will result in the worsening infrastructure conditioning. Revenue projections for the city indicate no substantial financial growth in the near future. Since 2021, the city's revenue growth has decreased by an average of almost 1% annually. With no substantial increase expected, current revenue streams cannot support the city's growing infrastructure demands. And I'll add that this is something that, specifically with me and having experience in the finance industry, this is something that I have seen coming through the city since I have been mayor since 2019. And there are a couple of things to note for that. One is that we have a very large percentage of our general fund revenue that certainly goes to our police and fire departments. And now we also have an increase of demand of our general fund with the airport. And so those three factors alone are draining or taking the majority of the general revenue fund, when some of those funds used to be and could be spent over into public works for road repairs and road infrastructure needs. So these demands have continued to escalate over the years, while our revenue and our retail base and our sales tax revenue has not increased to the percentage of our expense increase. And so this is something that I've seen coming for quite some time. And I want all the citizens to know that this is something that's very important to the city. The city staff, the city board understands the important needs to try to fix our streets and roads. We just simply have not had the revenue increase to be able to dump those additional funds in there. I will do a special footnote as well too. Back when the city received almost $7 million in COVID relief funds, we spent over half of that in fixing some streets and roads, trying to be prudent with the city's money. So I just wanted to point that out. This is not something that has happened overnight. This is something that's been building. And when you look at the trends of the increase, the potential increase in revenue across City of Texarkana, Arkansas, it's not going to increase, in my opinion, to the point where we can do substantial infrastructure changes to our streets and roads. The proposed streets and drainage bond initiative aims to provide a much needed infusion of capital that will significantly improve our roads and drainage infrastructure to reduce the city's long-term maintenance costs. The city estimates that this investment could cut the annual road maintenance costs nearly in half, enabling the city to better sustain and improve local streets and our drainage system. If this bond is approved, it will be supported by a modest property tax increase. Property owners can expect to pay approximately $50 more per year for every $100,000 of property value. Voters will see three questions on the ballot, and this is very important for the citizens to understand. So with these three questions on the ballot, the first question is the most important. It is, the first question will authorize the issuance of 2.4, I'm going to round numbers here, 2.4 million in bonds to refund our existing bonds. What does that mean? That means that we have 2.5 mills now that are retiring a bond that was issued for street improvements in 2012. The maximum amount of mills allowed for street improvement is 5. So we need the 5 mills to pay this $27 million bond back. So we're going to take out of the $27 million, we're going to take $2.4 million of that and retire those 2012 bonds so that we can use that 2.5% our resident citizens are already paying. The increase will only be 2.5% to get us to the 5% max. So the worst part about that is, in my opinion, if we don't explain that and the citizens do not understand it, if we do not pass the first question favorably, then the other two are mute. We will not be able to go forward with the drainage bonds and the street improvement bonds. So that's very important to note that we must authorize question number 1 has to pass favorably to retire the 2012 bonds so that we can use that 2.5% along with the 2.5% we're increasing for the 5% to pay the bonds back. Question number 2 will authorize the issuance of $41,925,000 in bonds to fund street rehab projects. Question number 3 will authorize the issuance of $5.4 million in bonds to fund drainage improvements to major creeks and cities. Now, let me explain that again. So the bond itself in the question number 2 and question number 3 are basically inflated numbers. So when you're looking at issuing bonds, these revenue bonds are based upon anticipated revenue from increases in property tax. And so what happens is the state mandates the 5 mills is all you can charge residents in street and drainage projects, and we're at 2.5 right now, is that we can, if we pass this, then we will not have to go back to the voters as the property tax revenues increase. The city itself and the board can authorize the reappropriation of those bonds and refinance those bonds and continue to put that money into public works for future street repairs and drainage repairs. So let me be clear again. The question is for I'm going to round numbers again. For question number 2 is for $42 million. Question number 3 is for $5.4 million for the drainage. That is not the actual money we will be getting in the first issuance. We're getting about half of that. We're getting $27 million because that is the only increase in the potential property tax revenue that we would see to be able to retire. So in other words, you're not going to be able to borrow more money than you can pay back. And so, but if we can pass this initiative, we will not have to go back to the voters in the future to allow for that. That's very important. It's important to me understanding that, 1, we need those 5 mills to continue to keep up with the infrastructure in our city to maintain good streets and roads. That is the only way, in my opinion, by issuing these bonds, that we're going to make a significant impact in our streets and roads over the next several years. And so as these bonds pay down and as the property tax revenue increases, that will authorize the board to get potential bond money for the Public Works Department without going back to the voters. So that's very important to note. The second is it is important to consider that question 1 must be passed again in order for the city to issue the additional bonds described in question 2 and 3. If question 1 fails, then we'll not be able to complete those improvement bonds. The city will receive approximately $25 million to invest in streets and drainage improvements, $21 million for streets and $4 million for drainage. Drainage projects will consist of cleaning and dredging the major creeks within the city. The 2 creeks that are noted here is Nix Creek and Jones Creek. Drainage projects will, the amounts stated on the ballot are not what we could collect currently, but what the property tax would be worth in the next 10 to 20 years. The number is the maximum amount that the city cannot exceed. If the city experiences substantial growth in property tax revenues, we could issue additional bonds in the future without increasing property taxes to our citizens. The city encourages all registered voters to participate in this upcoming election and make an informed decision regarding the future of the local infrastructure. To aid in that decision, the city manager will be hosting town hall meetings within each ward. The meetings are scheduled as follows. Ward 1 will be October the 21st at Lifehouse Church. Ward 3 will be October the 23rd with a time and date to be time and location to be determined. Ward 4 will be the 28th of October, same with a location and time to be determined. October the 30th will be Ward 6 at Sugar Hill United Methodist Church on Sugar Hill Road. Ward 2 is location and time to be determined. Ward 5 is November the 6th at Central Baptist Church at 5:30. Additional meeting information will be released as these locations and times are secured. The city's board of directors authorized a street study to be conducted to support the investment of potential bond proceeds. The street study conducted by InfraHub consisted of a complete survey. I want to point out that it was a complete survey of all city maintained roads, pavement condition assessment, cost benefit analysis, and prioritization. Roads were assigned a priority score that was 56% pavement condition, 22% street classification or road volume, and 22% cost benefit. Construction estimates were created for the top roads on this list, and the priority road list was approved by the city board of directors to be completed with the bond proceeds. That priority list is available and is attached to this press release and will be available through our Public Works Department. It's also available, I might point out, it's available on our website through our city board meetings. And so why is that important? I think it's important, me personally as mayor, to be transparent with the citizens. Meaning that there has been some things in the past that there's been some misunderstandings about bonds that went out, where the money was spent, how that's taken place. I was one that supported a proactive approach to get this list together, analyze this list based off of what we paid for, which is an unbiased street study, and prioritize those streets. So we passed at our board meeting last 2 weeks ago, we passed a resolution. That resolution binds the Public Works Department and the city to repair the roads that were approved on that list. So if your street happens to be on this list, it will get done. And so the next thing I'll point out is that even though we passed this bond, which I'm hopeful that we will, if we pass this bond and this modest increase in property tax revenue, the one thing that will take place is this money will not even be coming to the city until what we anticipate to be April or May of 26. In that time, once the bond passes in November, we can begin to bid out streets, get things done and all that kind of stuff. Our estimates, and Tyler can cover this probably a little bit in a few minutes, would be maybe even up to 2 years before we're able to get all of these streets done. There are 58. There are 58 streets on this list to be completed with this bond money. But it's going to be a long, drawn-out process. So I want the citizens to understand that, is that we'll work diligently. Most of these will be done by private contractors. And so the bidding process, all those engineering that has to be done, it's a time-consuming process, but they will get done. There's much detail in the street study process, the bonds, and the property tax that support the bonds that can be elaborated on in our scheduled town hall meetings. We plan to utilize these town hall meetings to fully inform our citizens of a plan and process, so they may and all make an informed decision at this election. The city is committed to being fully transparent, and we will answer any and all questions in these town hall meetings. I urge everyone to attend your respective wards meeting. If you're unable to attend on the scheduled date, we will also be hosting meetings prior to the city board's meeting on October the 20th and November the 3rd at 5 p.m. So if you're not able to attend the town hall meetings, then you can come to the board meetings at 5 on October the 20th and at 5 on November the 3rd. For that first 45 or 50 minutes, we can discuss the bond election. Early voting will be from November the 12th through the 14th and November the 17th from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. at the American Legion building at 525 East Broad Street. And election day will be Tuesday, November the 18th from 7:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. at your respective polling places. And I apologize, I don't have those. There are 5. Do we remember how many polling places? Was there 5 or 6 that are, there's only going to be 5 or 6 polling places open, and we'll make sure that we get that released. Carl, we need to get that to you guys so that y'all can publicize that. And so, this is important. It's important for the city to certainly have the funding. It's more than likely not popular to raise taxes. This is a very modest increase, but for the citizens to understand that for the future of the city, this is the way to go. This is the only way that we can infuse, in my opinion, infuse the capital dollars that we need to repair some of our streets. With what has taken place, when you understand that we need $5 or $6 million per year, according to the study, to maintain our roads in good working condition, and we're $4 million behind that with only being able to dump about $1 million a year into public works. It's important to catch that up. And there's 2 additional points I would like to make. One would be, just because your street is not on that list, that doesn't mean that we're not going to do your street. Every street in Texarkana, Arkansas is on that street study. These were prioritized lists based on simply the money that we can generate through the bond. But that is not, in my opinion, going to be the final list. Why not? Because we have a list all the way down to 500, ever how many streets there are. There's 2 other opportunities. One, there is a strong possibility that our estimates for the street repair that we're doing right now and that we did to conduct to get to the $21 million for the bond issue could come in under budget. If they come in under budget, because we were we did the best we could in public works with estimating what those streets would be. If they come in less, then that will be more money that we can spend and continue to drop down that list on a priority basis based on who would be next, et cetera, et cetera. The second thing is, and I pledge to work diligently with the city's finance department in doing this. This money, if this is passed, will be issued to the city in one lump sum. Naturally, we don't need that money right up front. We won't need this money until these projects begin to take place. And I pledge to work with the finance department to work on an investment strategy so that we can invest this money over a period of time and secure CD investments to draw additional interest income off of this money while we're waiting for these streets to be repaired. That in itself could generate approximately $500,000 or more dollars so that we can go grab another couple of streets with that. And there's also the last possibility would be once the bonds are actually issued, we can possibly receive more money than the $27 million basically that we're asking for based on what rates are at that time and potential revenue projections, et cetera. So there's 3 possibilities there to go grab 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 more streets off of that with this money. And the last thing I'll say is that if your street is not on here, these streets that are on this list, once this bond election is approved, then we will, what I would assume would be, we would go out and do minimum maintenance on those streets knowing that they are coming to be repaired. These are full repair street on the street study. And so unless we have some type of emergency, a large pothole or something like that, we can now shift our process off of these 50 streets or 55, 56, 57 streets down that list and go use public works funds to go repair those streets as well. So it stretches us even further, plus it gets our annual maintenance costs. If you understood anything that I said in that opening statement is, these annual maintenance costs are what is really driving our street condition down, in my opinion, because we don't have enough funds to maintain them. And so this will drive our annual street maintenance costs down by repairing these 50-plus streets. And so I hope the citizens take this seriously. It is the only thing on the ballot on November the 18th. It is something that we will all have to push hard to remind people that you need to go vote. When early voting starts, we're certainly going to utilize the press. We're going to use all of our opportunities here through Facebook and our website and our board meetings to do that as well. We've planned to do some radio. So we have an opportunity here to take our public works department and our street condition and drainage condition to a new level. And I know that there are several residents that will benefit greatly just from our drainage improvements. We have Nix Creek that is not in very good condition right now. It needs to be cleaned and dredged. We have flooding issues that need to be addressed, and we have the same situation at Jones Creek. And so this is an opportunity for us to go clean that up. And those maintenance costs will be deferred for the city so that we can continue to use that money to go fix more streets and roads. So again, I appreciate all of you being here. If you have any questions, Tyler's here. Anything we need to cover that I didn't cover?
I think you covered it excellent.
Tracy, anything? All right. So we appreciate y'all being here. I hope this is something that we can certainly capitalize on with our residents, making everybody understand where we're at and why we're trying to do this and actually how much that it would cost. And I think that it will boost us in the future. This is something that really needs to be done to capitalize on our future, our infrastructure of our streets and roads and drainage. Thank you. Any questions? Yes, sir.
What do you anticipate the annual debt service to be, and will the property tax increase cover it all?
Yes. First and foremost, that's how that of course, we work with Stevens, and we have a bond attorney that's worked for the city for a number of years. I've worked with him since 2019. So in these formulas that they use for the increase in your property tax revenue, so that debt service is over a 20-year period. And so whatever that formula they use, it's a conservative number. It's not something that they didn't think that you would ever meet financially, as that's how they arrive at that number. So you're borrowing $27 million to be paid back with interest over a 20-year period. And I will point out, in the 2012 bond issue that was issued, roughly $20 million, it was already ahead of schedule 7 years. So it had already been prepaid by the city. I believe that's right, when Sheena, in like 7 years or something, it was already ahead to be paid off earlier, 7 years earlier than what we anticipate. And we anticipate the same thing with this. So whatever 20 plus the interest of that would be, I don't have that number called right off the top of my head, that's how they arrive at that. And so that's important to note, that we're asking for the maximum amount that you could get, which is the $42 million. And the $6 million, I'm rounding numbers again, $6 million in the drainage, because we wouldn't have to go back to the voters. So as these bonds pay off early and interest goes up, interest goes down, however that may be, the city has extra funds to help retire these bonds, which I certainly would be in favor of. Then we can go refinance those bonds and go make some more significant strides in our streets and roads.
Will making these improvements itself increase property tax valuations? In other words, will this create property tax income?
Yeah, great question. So for every 100,000 that you are on the books right now, it's $50 a year, okay? There was a good question posed not recently about the people that have their property values frozen. So if you're over 65 and the county has frozen your property tax value, you will get that $50 increase on that value that is frozen. And that value stays frozen until you increase your property value by 25%. So if you were to go add a room onto your house, add a detached garage or something, and it increases your value over 25%, then your 65 frozen is not frozen anymore at that, it goes to the new level. So everybody will receive the $50 per 100,000 on the assessed value now. So when the county does a reassessment, and your property is reassessed and you're not 65, then that would increase your property taxes by that amount.
Does the county take into consideration street improvements in those assessments?
No,
Okay.
no. Not that I'm aware of. It's strictly the value of your property on your lot or land or whatever. Anything else?
What kind of work are we talking about? Complete rebuilds or?
Yeah, each road could be different, but yeah, there'll be full rehabilitations. Some may just, receive a mill and overlay. Some require extensive base work, so we'll go in and, take out 12 inches of subgrade and asphalt and build everything back. It just depends on what the issues are with the road, but every road that's on this list will be fully rehabilitated.